years ago.
That's very encouraging because, I always think, oh, I didn't finish, but I guess it's not. There's a precedent to not finishing this daf because it's a very involved daf. Okay, so let's get started. What we learned until now recently was the huge chiddush of Rav. It was a mind-blowing chiddush. He said that once someone denies money owed and he swears, even if he's proven to be wrong, he's potter. He's potter. It's a massive chiddush. For no reason, he did everything wrong. He lied about not owing the money. He swore, doubled down, and what's his schar? Potter. It's unbelievable. And he learns it out of a pasuk. It says v'lakach ba'olov v'lo yishalim. If the bailam take from the defendant a shvua lo yishalim, the defendant no longer has to pay, even though he's proven to be wrong. That was the broad chiddush that Rav said. Then after the Gemara analyzed it, like everything else, it whittles it down, this broad halacha, to one unique case. So it can't be speaking about a case of Toen Taanas Ganiv, where the Adam came along and said he has it, because the Parsuk says there are fairs that the Shomer has to pay kefil. So Rav can't contradict them for Shabbos. It also cannot possibly be referring to a case where someone swore false and then was moida, because the Pasuk also is black and white. In such a case, what you have to do is you have to pay back a Karen and a Chaimish and a Asham. So therefore, it's limited to a case that the Adam ended up coming and saying that his shvul was a lie, but not Toen Taanas Ganiv. So, for instance, Toen Taanas Ganiv, if his claim as to why he's potter to pay is because it was lost, there is no chiyuv. There is no chiyuv to pay anything if he swore and if he's caught. And I would add that even if he said lahadam, I never had a package from you, I never had a pekadim from you, anything other than Toen Taanas Ganiv, if he swears falsely and then Adam come and prove him wrong, he is potter. It's a big chiddush of Rav, but it's exeres hakosov. It's exeres hakosov.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the end of that sugya, and now we're up to a new sugya, and the Gemara is probing different configurations of Toen Taanas Ganiv.
Yosy, I'm sorry. What daf are you on? Yos, what daf are you on?
We're on Daf
Yosy,
Kufav Amud Beis.
Where?
Daf Kufav Amud Beis, and we're 8 lines from the top, and there's a set of 2 dots there.
Kuf Amud Beis.
Kufav 106. 106 B.
Kufvav. What's that? Kufvav.
I'm sorry. I remember when I used to daven in the view mount on Yom Tov, my grandfather. So view mount from Michamar, instead of going to the Alter Torah, from Michamar we allowed to go to view mount, and sometimes we daven there during the day as well. So I remember there was a yeshiva bacher who had come back for Ben Isman, and he was lazy, and he said the word who. So Chassidus should correct him. It's not who, it's he.
He.
So then there was a whole fight. Is it pronounced who or is it pronounced he? So Ernie Man's father, says, who, he, ha. The ganze line wird schon eingeräuselt joke.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, so we're up to the 2 dots. Amr, Reb Chia bar Abba, Amr Reb Yochanan. Chia bar Abba said in the name of Reb Yochanan, Toen Taanas Ganiv b'pikot. Our textbook case of Toen Taanas Ganiv. The law is he pays kefil, because the Torah says very clearly Toen Taanas Ganiv pays kefil. What the Torah doesn't discuss is Tavach U'Mocher. We know a regular Ganiv that pays kefil. If he's Tavach U'Mocher, he pays Dal V'Hei. Would that also apply to a Toen Taanas Ganiv? Zokt Reb Chia bar Abba Amar B'Yechanan. It would. Tavach U'Mocher mishalam tashlumei arba v'chamisha. Why? Hoil v'ganiv mishalam tashlumei kefil. And with Toen Taanas Ganiv mishalam tashlumei kefil, since Ganiv and Toen Taanas Ganiv have similar halachas, they both pay kefil. Let's see if we can stretch it one step further. Ma Ganiv shu mishalam kefil. Tavach U'Mocher mishalam tashlumei arba v'chamisha. A Ganiv that pays kefil, when he's Tavach U'Mocher, he also pays Dal V'Hei. Af Toen Taanas Ganiv b'Bikoden, so to a Toen Taanas Ganiv, who pays kefil, because the Torah says specifically does, Kishu Mishalom Tashlumei Kefil, therefore Tavach U'Mocher, Mishalom Tashlumei Arba V'Chamisha. Correct the Gemara, how can you just say that, make an assumption that just because they both pay kefil, so automatically Toen Taanas Ganiv will pay Dal V'Hei? Not necessarily. Malaganev, shekain nishalom, tashlume kefil, shaloi b'shvua. A ganev who steals something pays kefil, no matter what. But a Toen Taanas Ganiv, he doesn't. We don't invoke the chi of kefil unless it's war false. So he's a little different. You can't compare the two. Who said that a Toen Taanas Ganiv would pay dal v'hei? Toimar, but Toen Taanas Ganiv, shein nishalom tashlume kefil. Ela b'shvua, only with a shvua. Zok Gemara, you're right. We can't just compare the two and make that assumption, but we have a gilui in the Torah, Amri Hakeshahi. There's actually a hekesh that compares a Ganiv to Toen Taanas Ganiv, the Ein Mashivin Al Hakesha. And on the hekesh, you can't argue. So where is this hekesh? The Gemara assumes that we need to know it already. Why? Because we learned it at the beginning of the Masechta. So if I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm not mistaken, I believe the hekesh is in the Parshat Mishpatim. Instead of guessing, let me take a quick look. It is in Parshas Mishpatim. Rashi doesn't quote where the pasuk is, but I'm pretty sure it's in Parshas Mishpatim. Let's have a look. I guess we could say the Lunar strikes again if we weren't Mavasadu yet. From Mishpatim, we still have to catch up. Classic case of a shomer, and this is the case of Toen Taanas Ganiv. Imi Motzei Aganov. If you remember the Gemara Darshan, if it comes out that he was the Ganav, then Yishalom Shleim. The next passage says, if the Ganav wasn't found, meaning if you didn't find the Ganav and it turned out that he stole it, so we have two psukim that seem to be discussing the same thing. So the Gemara Darshan, that the first pasuk of Imi Motzei Ganav Yishalom Shleim is speaking by Toen Taanas Ganiv. And Loi Motzei Ganav is speaking about a Ganiv. Let me see if I mixed it up or if I got it right. So I apologize. So the way that's exactly the backwards. It's what we call bass backwards. The good of if it was really stolen, the Ganiv pays too. Loi Motzei Ganav, if it comes out not like what the Shomer said, but in fact he stole it, then we nikavol by. So we have now back to back. This pasuk speaking about Ganiv, this pasuk speaking about Toen Taanas Ganiv. Therefore, we make a hecker. Just like a Ganiv, if he is tavach l'machar, he pays alvei. So to a Toen Taanas Ganiv, if he's tavach l'machar, pays alvei. But if you remember, when we learned the sugya, there was a dissenting opinion who learned that both these psukim are speaking about Toen Taanas Ganiv, and the parsha of Ganiv is from a completely different pasuk. So according to that shita, there is no hecker. So we're going to be right back where we started. So let's see how the Gemara deals with this. Zok the Gemara Hakesha, ve'ein meshivin ala Hakesha. Zok the Gemara Hanicha leman domar. That would make a lot of sense if you said Chad beganet, one pasuk like we just learned is speaking about a ganet. The Chad betoin down this ganet. Shaper, you have a beautiful Hakesh. El leman domar hi imi motzei ganet im lo motzei. These two psukim that we just reviewed. Tarvayu betoin taanas ganet. They're both speaking about Toen Taanas Ganiv. My ikalamemar. Where do you have any type of remez to teach us that Toen Taanas Ganiv pays dalvei? Amri Zok Gemara, that's an easy one. Ganiv Haganiv. It doesn't say Yimi Motzei Ganiv. It says Yimi Motzei Haganiv. From the extra hay, we learned that the Toen Taanas Ganiv has the same rules as a Ganiv, and in fact, if he shechs, he pays dalvei. The same Reb Chia bar Abba who quoted Rabbi Yochanan is now asking a kash on Rabbi Yochanan. Reuben goes over to Shimon and says, I gave you a pikot, I gave you my ox a week ago. I'd like it back. Where is it? So Shimon says, I feel so bad. Nignav, it got stolen. Really? Mashbiachan. Swear, in fact, that it was stolen. V'amar amein. And the Shomer said amein. A classic case of Toen Taanas Ganiv. And then Adam came along, but Adam I say, that he ate it. Now, how would he have eaten it if he wouldn't have shechted it? So he clearly made a tvik over here. What is the halacha? Mishalem tashlume kefil. Correct the Gemara. Yahacha the efshir lekazayis basar below shchita. If he ate it, he must have shechted it. Vikatani mishalem tashlume kefil. Yet the verdict is that he only pays kefil. Tashlume kefil in tashlume dal ve'loi. You don't pay dal ve'loi. So you have a raya from here that Toen Taanas Ganiv does not pay dal ve'loi, which contradicts what Rabbi Yochanan said. And for the Gemara, this guy's a Ganiv. He's not the biggest tzaddik in the world. Did it ever dawn upon you that maybe maybe he was such a big tzaddik, he's a Ganiv, he also eats straight. In other words, Don't just because he's a Ganiv, you think you can give him an Ali in Shul. No, he ate in the Vela also. Now you can't give him an Ali in Shul. A Ganiv is a Mila. But as a Mila, listen to this.
1 minute. He has to shecht it la halacha to be considered getting out. Yeah.
Yes, it has to be a shchita to be chayv dal v'hei.
A shchita la halacha.
Correct.
That's unbelievable. And if he did it wrong, he messed up. He's not mechuyev dal v'hei.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So this reminds you of
if it's not a halacha, it wouldn't be shchita. It would be the vela. Wouldn't be called shchita.
Not a shchita. But it's not in killing the animal. It's a din in actually doing a kosher shchita.
What does the word tovach mean exactly?
Well, by Yosy,
it could mean he slaughtered the animal. He killed the animal.
Yosy says it's fayach tovach v'hachein when he was preparing the meal for his brothers.
V'hachein. What does that mean, v'hachein?
I guess
and prepare it.
The meal.
Prepare it.
So I remember when I first got married, there was a very, very sad, depressing period in Los Angeles. There was a Rav that was sent to prison for a long time. It was just a bad time. And at that time, they found a woman's dead body in her husband's warehouse. So when they said the story, everybody asked me, was the guy from? I said, he was Shomer Shabbos, but he was not Shomer Lo Shirtzach. I'm not sure. You tell me, is that called from or not? But this guy is a Ganiv and he eats the Nevila. He's not getting an Ali in Shul. Frank the Gemara, why did you have to say that he's such a Rusha that he ate Nevila? Say he shechted it, but he go into Achlei Treifa. It was Treifa. His mom is not a behind me. He tried shechting it. He cut it open. He saw it was Treifa, and he didn't eat it anyway. But why do you have to say he made it on Nevila? The Teretz is Kirav Meir Damer Shchita she'ein ruya shma shchita. According to Reb Shimon, he held shchita she'ein ruya lo shma shchita. So if you would have said that he shechted the treifa, since the shchita is not matter this animal ba'achila, because it's a treifa, Reb Shimon does not consider that a shchita. And therefore, you wouldn't be chayv dal vei, because even though it was a kosher shchita, but it wasn't matter the animal to eat, so that's even a level further than what David's bringing up. It's a kosher shchita in Gansen, but it's not matter the be'ema la'achila, it's not considered a shchita for the purposes of dal vei. Zok the Gemara, it's going to go to Reb Meir. So therefore, had it been a treifa, he would have been chayv dal vei. So that's why the Gemara couldn't say that was the case. The Gemara, we know the halacha is if a mother is shechted and inside the mother they find a baby and the baby survives and it's alive, even if it's 5 years old and it's a big ox and it's plowing fields, it's completely independent life, you can just shoot it in the head and eat it because it doesn't need shchita because it already became mutter with the shchita of its mother. So why don't we say that what he was eating was a ben tekua? So therefore he didn't have to shecht it. And therefore there's no chiyuv dal vei because he never shechted it. So the Gemara, Reb Meir the Amar ben tekua ton shchita. Reb Meir argues, Neil's a ben tekua would have to be shechted. The Gemara, the lishnelei, the guy, why are you making the guy such a shaykes that he ate nevela? There's other things that could have been that doesn't make him such a shaykes. The lishnelei to go into Amad Badin. Let's say it's speaking in a case where the Geneva was terminated. A tficha ubechira as an addendum to a Geneva results in a chiv dal vei. But if it's a whole new transaction separated from the Geneva, then it wouldn't net a chiv dal vei. So if it's speaking Shamad Badin, they already took him to the Torah. They had Adam that proved to us that he had the bema, that he lied, and the Amru say Tainla. Bezin already paskin with certainty, with conviction, you must go pay now. That terminates the Geneva. The Amar Rava said, if Bezin says say Tainloi, that's a real conviction, and that means the past is over. Therefore, if he goes now and he's Tavach Umachar, we don't look at it like it's an addendum to his Geneva. His Geneva is over already. My time of keeping the Paske Lumil say his Geneva is over already. And now it's like he walked up to someone's animal in front of his own eyes, grabbed the animal, and shechted it. That's considered a gazlan. The gazlan loy mishalom tashlumi arba b'chamish. But if Bezin just said chayiv atalitin loy, which isn't a real psak with conviction, it's not a completely sealed deal, which means there's still some continuity of the original Geneva. The tabach u'machar chayiv, he would be chayiv dal vei. My time kol kamad loy psika loy milsa, as long as the original Geneva is not completely terminated, akati ganav, who is still a ganav. Therefore, a tchvichu mechira would be mechayiv him to pay dal vei. When you have all these great ideas of what it could have been, I have other ideas of what the Gemara could have answered. The halach is if two people steal an animal together, and one of them, if they both shechted together, or one shechted on behalf of both of them, they're both chayv dalvei. But if one person shechted it without the instruction or the agreement of his friend the Ganiv, see these two Ganivim are already not getting along, right? Then there's no chiv dalvei at all. So maybe that was the case. The Torah says there's many different ways we can deflect this case and say there's a special reason why there was no dalvei.
They both pay kefil. What about kefil? The second guy pay kefil. The other guy the other guy pays dalvei. Does he?
Avada pay kefil.
So they could be paying 5 or 6 times then.
I'm sorry.
5 or 7 times. 5 or 7 times.
I don't know what you're talking about.
In total, I mean.
They're not going to pay each independently dalvei. They're going to chip it together. They chip it together to pay.
Yeah, but one guy doesn't know about it. One guy doesn't know the other guy shefted.
But then it's Potter and Gantz, and nobody
so
pays.
His partner in crime pays dalvei, the one who shefted. What about the other guy? Does he still pay kefil?
No, he does not. His partner does not pay dalvei. He does not pay dalvei. But
he pays kefil.
If there's two of him, and only one of them shechted without the knowledge of the other, nobody pays dalvei. Do you know why? Do you know why nobody pays dalvei? We learned the Gemara about it. So Rashi tells us why. Rashi is kind enough to remind us of the Gemara. It's just that Kiveger feels that Rashi didn't remember the Gemara either. But let's look at what Rashi says. Why? They were partners in crime on the Geneva. On the Tvicha, one person did this on his own. I'm reading the parak, but we just learned this on that Ein Chesed days. Shepater midal vei. You know why? Because it says in the pasuk, Chamisha bakar amar rachman, v'loy chamisha chatzai bakar. If I shechted it and I'm only a partner, I would only pay half of the dalet vei. There's no such thing as a payment of half. So therefore, you're partnering on it. That's one reason the Gemara said. But Rashi says, Rashi wraps it into one reason. It says v'tavchoi. You have to do it completely be'isr, completely be'chiyav. But the problem is, it's like he shechs a third party's geneva. It would be potter. So Reb Kiveger asks, Rashi wraps it in to make it look like it's one reason. In fact, in the Gemara, if you look it up, it was 2 separate reasons. Either you cannot have a payment of half a dalvei, or there's no chiv at all because he can't be mechuyev because he didn't shech the Isura. So Kiveger says maybe instead of this little dot that indicates Reb Kiveger as a comment, it should say inami. And that means there's 2 separate reasons over here. Okay, so now we have a whole bunch of different reasons why somebody would not be chayav dalvei, in addition to the fact that it would have been an avail. Gewaltig. So now we know that there's a chayav dalvei or a Toen Taanas Ganiv according to Rabbi Yochanan. Another interesting rule about Toen Taanas Ganiv. A Toen Taanas Ganiv ba'aveda. So this is not someone who was entrusted by a third party to give him an animal to watch. Rather, he found an animal roaming around on the street, and he took it in because he was looking to give it back to its pilot. So we learned that he also has to do another shomer as a shomer. If he is Toen Taanas Ganiv, so eventually the person who lost it finds out that Moshe found it. So he goes to Moshe and he says, "May I please have my animal?" Moshe says, "I'm sorry, it was stolen." Allah is Mishalom Tashlume Kev. Once again, there's a chi of Toen Taanas Ganiv even for a neveda, a shomer aveda. My time, in the parish of Toen Taanas Ganiv, the pasuk says Akol Aveda Sheyer Merkuzeh. So the pasuk clearly says it applies to an aveda as well. Frek the Gemara, Eisvei Rab Abba Bar Mamel or Rab Chia Bar Abba. Rab Abba Bar Mamel has a serious problem with this halacha. If you're going to tell me that someone who's a shomer aveda pays kefil by Toen Taanas Ganiv, in essence, what you're telling me that you never require that the pikadon was actually given to me and entrusted with me by the owner. No matter how I got it, whether I got it from him or not, even if I merely found it on the street, I'm a shomer and I have to pay kefil. But the problem is, we have a brayso that seems to indicate other. The brayso says kiyitenish. A man has to give a pikadon. This is where the Torah introduces the parsha of Toen Taanas Ganiv. The Torah says when a man gives a pikadon to a shomer, that's how the Torah introduces the parsha of Toen Taanas Ganiv. And therefore we learn only if it's an adult who gave the pikadon. Ain't a sinas katan klum. So if a katan gave a pikadon to a shomer, there is no rule of Toen Taanas Ganiv. Zok the Gemara, I would have only thought that if this whole ordeal happened while the mafkid was a cotton, there is no din dal, there's no din kef. But what if Nasnu Shugab, a cotton gave the pikadon to this shomer, and then he became bar mitzvah, and after his bar mitzvah, he came to reclaim his pikadon. The tovek is shugad. Minayin, how do you know that even there's no chiv to pay kefil? Talmud Loimer at Elohim Yavei Dvar Shneim. What does Dvar Shneim mean? It means the two transactions: the giving over of the pikadon to the shomer and the attempted reclaim. Break the Gemara. If you hold them Isa, if you hold that you don't need a nesina at all, because by a shomer aveda there was no nesina to have an amika aveda. Why should it be any different if the cotton gave it in to the shomer? Forget that. Make believe nothing ever happened. Make believe he found it. As long as when the tviyah happens, this owner is a gadol, he should pay kefil just like a shomer aveda. So you have a raya from here that in fact a shomer aveda would not pay kefil. When do we say that if the mafkin is a cut, there's no chiv dal vei? That's if the shomer consumed the pikadon, and when the shomer consumed the pikadon, he was a cut. But in fact, if when he consumed it, when he was the ganiv, when he actually did the gneva on the pikadon, this mafkin was already an adult, he would pay dal vei, because as we are saying, you don't need a nesina, because even if he found it on the street, that would also have the halacha of Toen Taanas Ganiv. Zok Gemara, is that so? Avol kishehu gadol. If the shomer of this object that was given to him by a cut, if he didn't steal it until the mafkid was already an adult, hachenami de meshalem, is the argument that you're making that there would be a chiv kefil in that Toen Taanas Ganiv? Ihachi, what does the Brisa say when we introduced it? It says, what does it say over here? Achetei nesina utfia shaven. So it says achetei nesina utfia shaven kechot, meaning they have to, the mafkid has to be an adult when he gives it. But according to the way you're learning, he does not have to be an adult when he gives it. He only has to be an adult by the time the shomer violates it. So why didn't the Brisa say differently? Lisni achetei achila utfia shaven. Not nesina utfia shaven, but achila utfia shaven. Meaning he has to be an adult at that time. Amalei, so he answered, so Rabbi Bava answered Rabbi Bamel, Tani achetei achila utfia shaven. So I'm not sure if he meant amend the Brisa, or if he meant nesina is the same thing. We're saying nesina means achila, which you have to do anyway, because the pasuk does say, the pasuk does a kiyitein ish. So you have to learn that that kiyitein also refers to the achila, right? So nesina could be a Ravashi, forget all this. Your kasha functions. Don't ask me, I'm Aveda, you see that you don't need nesina. Aveda is still better. Because like dummy, Aveda ka'asa mikoich bendas. Yes, no one handed me this mitzvah that I found. But as soon as I took this mitzvah, indirectly, there's already a connection between me and the owner. So when I received this Aveda, at that point I received it with a connection to an owner that was a bendas. That's why there will be a chiyuv of Toen Taanas Ganiv. But if a child gave it to you, the relationship was not created with a bendas. Therefore, there would be no chiyuv kefil. Beautiful. So now we've established that even a shomer aveda, if he's Toen Taanas Ganiv, will pay the alvei. I wanted to tell you something. The boichsvara that I said today in the afternoon of why Toen Taanas Ganiv is worth nice of it, Shlomi Ox told me the same thing right after marriage. He's the same sort. Because Avad means I'm a shlamazel. Ganav, I'm not a shlamazel. I'm a victim. What I was referring to is, Chaim Tzvi asked me a question. We've established, according to Rab, Toen Taanas Avad, right? Toen Taanas Avad will not have to pay if he swears. But Toen Taanas Ganiv will have to pay. So Chaim Tzvi asked me, why did that's what the Torah says. We can't dispute that. But why did the Torah say that? Why should the Toen Taanas Avad get off easier than the Toen Taanas Ganiv? So I said a boy swear, but Shlomi Ox said the same swear, so now it has credibility. And that is, we know that someone who's Avad is a Shlamazel. Someone who's a Ganav, he's a victim. As a matter of fact, Tosha says twice. We had a couple of blot ago. You remember a couple of blot ago, we were learning about a Shoichet who shechts and he messes up. If he's a qualified Shoichet, he's potter, unless he was paid. Right? If he's a qualified Shoichet, he's potter. Adamud Loilam, there's no excuses. The territories of Tosha, as Tosha established at the beginning of the Masechta, even Adamud Loilam has its limitations. And if it's Mamish and Oinus Gomer, even the other won't be Mud Loilam. And Tosha uses the analogy, if it's an Oinus Karv L'Geneva, then it's fine. But if it's an Oinus Karv L'Aveda, it's high. Clearly, Aveda is looked down upon, is frowned upon, because there was negligence. He was a Shlamazel. It's not like someone came along. However, the problem I have with that teretz, I just think to myself, is what if the guy said Lahadab? Someone goes over to a Shomer, says, I gave you my stuff, give it back. And he says, you never gave it to me. And he swears. He doesn't pay anything. If Adam can prove him wrong, it's also under the exemption of Rav. Because the only exclusions, the only exceptions to Rav's halacha are places where the Torah said the fair is not like that. So anytime you're moide, you pay keren b'chaimish v'asham. So Rav can't argue on that. And the Torah says specifically by Toen Taanas Ganiv that you pay cable. Rav can't argue on that either. Toen Taanas Ovid or La'adam or any other tiny besides Toen Taanas Ganiv, according to Rav, you would not have to pay if you were caught. So my bike swear just went out the window. Okay. I should have asked this to Shlomi. This is a massive chiddush because we always thought I had an ox, you come on it, I say it was stolen. Not so fast. You need to be a moed b'mikzas. Meaning the mafkid gave the shomer 2 animals, and when you come to collect the 2 animals, the shomer says, I have one of your animals, the other one got stolen. So he was a moed b'mikzas. Huge chiddush. My timer, where do we get this from that you have to be a moed b'mikzas in order to be mechuyev on Toen Taanas Ganiv? So that was very simple. In the parsha of Toen Taanas Ganiv, it says Atcha Yomer Kiyuzeh, right? So Kiyuzeh means I don't owe you what you're asking me for. I only owe you this. I don't owe you 100. I only owe you 50. So you see, built in to the pasuk of Toen Taanas Ganiv, the Torah specifically says there's a Kiyuzeh. There's a partial admission. Upligad Reb Chia Bar Yosef. Reb Chia Bar Yosef argues, says, of course not. Even if you deny everything, avada your chayim because of Toen Taanas Ganiv. The Amar Reb Chia Bar Yosef. Chia Bar Yosef says there's a kiyuzeh in the middle of the parsha of Toen Taanas Ganiv. It does not belong here. Parshiyos Kosov Kan. There was some type of short circuiting in the Torah. Zok Rashi pasuk shumi parsha cheres nis'arif bezu she'enim akoymai. A pasuk about milva somehow found its way into the pasuk about Toen Taanas Ganiv. The high kiyuzeh is relevant to im kesef talva. That's where it should have been in the parsha of Bava. Because there we know Amoid of a Miktas is Chayv and a Shvuah. The Hatzam Koi, that's what it's referring to. Ilu b'hach parsha of the Pikadoin, v'loy oidah b'Miktas b'Chai. So it doesn't belong here. And
you're saying that Rabban Shalom made a mistake and he put it in the wrong place?
Oh, I was hoping you were going to ask that kasha because Toysvis took your kasha very, very seriously.
Wait. Dave, this is not the first rodeo for Erev Parshias. Where's the famous one, Anav Gimel?
So
somewhere where we're
let's
about
just peek a little bit into Toysvis.
No, but this is explicitly saying that this is in the wrong place and there was a mistake.
Was the printer had nowhere to put it?
Yeah. Okay.
So let's have a look at Toysvis. We're not going to learn the whole Toysvis, but we'll just get an idea of the discussion. Pirish B'Kuntris, the pasuk said the kiyuzeh mi parsha acheres the ve'im kesef talvas ami That's where it belongs. If it's actually referring to the Parsha of Shomer, because Reb Chiya bar Yosef argues on what we said in the name of Reb Chiya bar Abba. And he said that you don't need the motive of mikzas by a Toen Taanas Ganiv. The timer that krinimi duchta. So why did we actually uproot it? It's not a mistake. It's not a mistake. Why would we uproot the kiyuzah from the parish of Milva and place it by Pekatan? Kedemasik. And the Gemara is going to tell us, the timer that krinimi duchta, the reason why we're saying it cannot possibly be referring to Toen Taanas Ganiv, it has to be referring to Milva, is because the Gemara proves it, which we're going to get to in just a minute. But the Kasha, Toysva still has a problem. The Bereishon Hedron Mashma, the Afilu Lemandamar Ir Parashas Kosovkan, even according to Reb Chiya bar Yosef, there's still some connection. Lo yakrinin legamar mi pikadoi. We don't totally say it's irrelevant to Pikadon. There is some relevance of Kiyuzah to Pikadon as well. So that explains why it's not a misprint. It's actually, its main focus would be by Mkesa Talva, but it has a very important lesson in our sugi as well. To tell us that the same way the Shvuah for Moedim Miktas needs 3 Dayanim and Dayanim Mumchin, so too here. So Kiyuzeh is also a terminology that's teaching us about what type of bezin and what the meshvud has to be. But the long discussion on Tosfos actually goes through certain cases where maybe everybody agrees that you need a Moedim Miktas. Tosfos distinguishes between if someone says it was an oinus, or maybe then you don't need a moedim mikzas, versus if someone says la'adam, you might need a moedim mikzas. So Tosfos goes through different shitas that have difference of opinions, but it is possible that in certain configurations you do need a moedim mikzas even by a shomer. Again, it's a long Tosfos, I don't want to get into it, but the kash is very valid that David's asking. Of course, it's not a mistake. Of course, there's very important lessons that we need to learn from the fact that the Torah put Kiyuzah in a parsha that seemingly doesn't belong in the parsha of Pikot, because it's very important lessons to learn. So, Frank Gemara, but Lamaisa, why? No Milva. Why is it that by Milva you only make a Shvuah if you're a Moedim Mikzas? Rather, by Pikadon you make it even without a Moedim Mikzas, according to Reb Chiya bar Yosef. So we're going to learn now a psychology lesson, and we're going to see how well the Gemara understood the psyche of a person. By Milva, it makes sense that you need to be Moedim Mikzas to be Mechuyev. Why? The Amar Rabba had a very interesting question. Why should a Moedim Mikzas Taina Yishava? If you think about it, the guy is a choshed to be a crook. If he's choshed to be a crook, then he'll swear falsely as well. Right? We learned earlier, a Papa says if someone's a Ganiv, if someone's a Ganiv, can't swear. So if you're choshed the guy's a crook, he's denying a hava. So why are you making him swear? You're just going to be machshel him with a false shvuah. So the teretz is as follows: because if someone has the audacity to face his malva face to face after the malva did him a favor, bailed him out, and knows that I'm lying to his face, there's no way it could be possible that this guy's going to look his malva in the eye and say, "I don't owe you a penny." Impossible. Therefore, the high bechuli boy the nichpere. He really wants to deny the whole thing. So, if he denies the whole thing, he's takapoter from a shvuah. You know why? Because mimanavsha. Either he's saying the truth, or he's such a shvantz that he'll lie on the shvuah. So therefore, we can't make him swear. However, the high b'chulu b'difrei, the high delakafrei. Why couldn't he deny the whole thing? Mishum de'ena demeis panav. So this guy is not such a bad ganiv, because you see, there's a little pang of guilt in him. He doesn't have the audacity to deny the whole thing. So therefore, really, he's not mamash hadosher. That means he's a good guy. So if he's a good guy, why not do b'chulu boy delay? So it means a tzaddik is a nisht. A tzaddik is a nisht, because otherwise it'll be moita. But there's something wrong over here. So behind the chaver of a mixer, why is he becoming a mixer? Not because he intends on stealing. He's not a gunner, and he has no intention of stealing. As a matter of fact, His intention is to pay every penny back in full. But his problem is as follows. He wants me 100,000, but I only have 50. So what am I going to do? So Sover, the Leiva thinks, if I tell him I owe him 100,000, he's going to come after me for 100,000. I don't have it, but I have 50. So let me give him 50 now, and then I'll push him off because he can't come to collect from me because I denied it. But when I get the money about, I'm going to pay him in full. I have no intention of being a gun. So this is an Erlich Hayid who's dealing with a difficult situation. He will never swear falsely. The Torah says, swear. That already is a line he won't cross. He'll be more heter to deny the loan because he's planning to pay it back. But to swear about it, that he won't do. So that's why the Shavu of Moedav Miktas is very effective once you understand the psyche of someone who's being Moedav Miktas. Now, what is the psyche? Here you did me a favor and I'm lying to your face. That works very good by a milva, where you did me a favor. They got a milva who to ikal. But Gabby Pekotin, he didn't do me the favor. I did him the favor. I did you a favor. I busted myself, take care of your animal for weeks. You know what? Mayus and mayus. So a guy like that will lie. So a Mela, when he's a koi for a coil, he's going to say, I'm a Ganiv. I don't care. I have no problem lying. So therefore, since he doesn't have that feeling, a Shavua will help him. A Shavua will help him. Because from the fact that he's denying everything doesn't make him into such a rush. He's not such a bad guy. And therefore, if we make him swear, he will not lie. Very interesting piece of psychology, how Chazal understood how people think. The only thing is, if you ask people who lend out money, they'll say, maybe this was in times of the Gemara. Today, I can lend a guy $100,000 and with a straight face, he'll lie to me and say, I don't owe you a penny. That's a different problem. You have to come to the Madrig of the Gemara. What? Oh, that's right. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Yeah. Sagt him, Tani Rami Bar Chama. Rami Bar Chama Taanas Allah. Our boss showing. So right now, what we just left, we had a machlokes. Do you need a moed b'mitzvahs by Toen Taanas Ganiv or not? Rav Yosy said you don't need one, and Rav Bava said you do need one. Let's see what Rami Bar Chama says. Rami Bar Chama says, our boss showing Tzrichin kefira b'mitzvahs by David. The four Shomrim required. So clearly he's not saying like Rav Yosy. Clearly he's saying like Rav Bava. V'elovein, what are the four Shomrim? Shomer Chinam, Vashayel, Noisei Sachar, Vasaycher. Amar Rava said, my time of the Rami Bar Chama. Where did Rami Bar Chama get this from? That you need kfir b'mitzvahs by David mitzvahs. So Zaktim Shomer Chinam behedik sivvei kiyuzeh. Exactly like Rav Bava said on Amid Al. It says kiyuzeh Shomer Sachar. How do I know Shomer Sachar? Kiyuzeh it says by a Shomer Chinam. Shomer Sachar I know. Yalef Nesina Mishomer Chinam. There's a Gzera Shava with the word Nesina that applies whatever we learned by a Shomer Chinam to a Shomer Sachar. Shoyel, when the Torah introduces the parsha of Shoyel, it's directly after the parsha of the Shomer Sachar. And how does the Torah introduce the Shoyel? The Shoyel is also going to share halachis with the Shomer Chinam and the Shomer Sachar. That means if he denies, how will he deny? He'll say Mesa Machmas Malacha, right? He'll say Mesa Machmas Malacha or La Adam, then he only has to swear if he was Moedim Mitzvahs. Zok Gemara, what about a Soicher? There's no pasuk on a Soicher. Well, it depends. Ilaman Amar Geshomer Socher, Hainu Shomer Socher. Ilaman Amar Geshomer Chinam, Hainu Shomer Chinam. Beautiful. Another interesting along. Amar Abchia Bar Yosef. Toen Taanas Ganiv v'Pekod. Another rule about Toen Taanas Ganiv v'Pekod. So if you took the animal and you're a shomer and it's grazing in your field and it's eating from your food from the trough, but you're not touching it, and you swore that it was nignav, you're not going to be chayv kei. You had to actually go and take it to yourself. You had to make a mice on it to be konyan. And if not, you will not be chayv kei. My timer, where in the world did you get this from? I think the Bach sticks in the Amar Kra. The pasuk says, "V'nikra balavais el Elohim m'shalach yadai m'lachas royayu." So you see, michlal the shalach bayad mechay. You see that the chiyuv comes only if he was shaleach yad. There's only a chiyuv to be careful. But Toen Taanas Ganiv, unless you actually touched it. You took it. Okay. Zok the Gemara. Such bayad, Rashi's koidim shvua. This had to have happened before the shvua. So you were shalech yad, and then you made the shvua. You did a malacha with it. You had to do a physical action. You can't just be floating around in your field like it was until now, and you're just denying. Okay. So Zok the Gemara. So this is very interesting over here. Michlal, the shalach bayad mechai. The chiv comes when you were shalech yad before you. Zok the Gemara, lememra the bishalach bayad askina. The Rashi remember the high dechsiv basrei asher yishino him is only b'shalach bayad. The nimtza rasha bekach shenishbel sheker for shalach bayad. He's a rasha by swearing because he had prior to his shvuah he actually abused the animal. Amul Reb Chiya bar argues. He said hachi Amar Rabbi Yochanan by medes alavuzashon. Even if you didn't touch the animal, and even if you did not make a shlichus yad, the pasuk is talking about a case shaloi shalach bayot shonu dechayiv kefil. The case that the Torah says that a Toen Taanas Ganiv is chayiv kefil is in a case where there was no shlichus yad. So let's do an inventory. We have one shita over here. Rav Yosy says that first he has to do shlichus yad before the denial of the shvuah, and only then it will be chayiv kefil. So let's just break it down into its pieces. If he only makes shlichus yad and he never swore falsely, he's chayiv anointed, right? He becomes a ganav. He's like a regular shomer. He's chayiv anointed now because he's not a shomer shchinim anymore, who's potter on ganiv aveda. He's chayiv anointed, but he's not chayiv kefil. When he doubles down on his avera, he doubles down on the shlichus yad, and he swears, now he's going to take it. Rabbi Yochanan says no. You're even. I'm using the word even very careful. You're even chayiv if you merely make a shvuah and there's no shlichus yad. Now the question is, what would Rabbi Yochanan hold if there was shlichus yad? Would that make it worse? Would he agree to Rabbi Chiya bar Yosy that if there was shlichus yad first, you pay kefil, but you don't need it even without shlichus yad? There's kefil. Maybe the shlichus yad makes it worse. Why will it make it worse? Because we just discussed it. The moment you make shlichus yad, you're chayav anointed already. So now you're a ganav already. So what extra is the shvuah doing? It's too late. You're already past the point that you can become a ganav. So Amar le Rabbi Chiya bar Abba. Rabbi wanted to know. When Rabbi Yochanan said, is it dafke by midas halavusa gamar? You're only chayiv kefil if you swore false, only if you were not shalech yad. Avo shalach bayad. What if he was already shalech yad, used the animal for his own purposes? So now he's koinit legabe being mechuyev anointed. He's no longer a shomer anymore, and therefore the shvuah is too late. The animal left the barn already. Shvuah lemahanya beklum. Too late. Shvuah works on the pekot. It doesn't work on the adavar ganav. Oidilma. He agrees with Reb Chiya bar Yosy, and he holds afilu I medes alavusa kamar. Yes, you're chayiv for kefil if you swear, if you're Toen Taanas Ganiv, if you were not shalech yad. But about to be shalech yad, you're also going to be chayiv. Amalei. So Reb Chiya bar Abba said, Zulay Shamati. I did not hear a specific clarity on what Rabbi Yochanan said. I don't know if there was a shlichus yad prior to the shvuah, would that take it out of the parsha of Toen Taanas Ganiv? But Kayoytze Bashamati, I heard another similar interesting case that if we analyze it, it will clarify what the position of Rabbi Yochanan is by shlichus yad. That's right. That's exactly what the shal is. Very good. That's exactly what the shal is. The Amr Abbas, Yom Rabbi Yochanan. Look to the head. Okay. Hatayin is it's not nigdav because then he should be chayiv kefil. He's not chayiv kefil. Right? A Toen Taanas Ganiv. A Toen Taanas Avad. Someone Taanas it was Avad. V'nishba and he swore. And then this guy is not only a Ganiv, he's also a schizophrenic, right? So he swore and he said, no, it's not true. It was not Avad. Because of a Toen Taanas Ganiv, he wanted to pay kefil. He said, I'm afraid I'll be potter. I want to be chayiv kefil. Change my mind. I'm really gone up. And V'nishba he swears again. And then Ubo Edim, that shows that he actually has. The halach is potter. He's potter from kefil. Rashi is potter from kefil. We're not going with Rav. Potter from kefil. My time up. What would be the reason? The only explanation we can offer is because of his first shvuah. My time alav mishum the kana b'shvuah rishayna. As soon as the shvuah rishayna happened, now he's no longer a shomer. Now he's mechuyev anointed. So what's the difference if he's mechuyev anointed because he made a shvua, or if he's mechuyev anointed because it was shleich yad? Either way, there will no longer be an opportunity to swear nignav and be chayiv kefil for that. Amalei loy, why? Hoyel v'yotza yidei bailam b'shvur rishayna, because he was yotza. The animal left the property of the bailam became a davar nigzal as soon as he swore avad. So therefore, who I did over here, when he made shlichas yad, it's already out of the bailam. He's mechuyev anointed. So after that, he could no longer be over Toen Taanas Ganiv. So it's a beautiful raya. So in fact, the machloek is Rabbi Yochanan and Rab what was the case? Machloek is Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chiba Yosef. Rabbi Chiba Yosef is it Rabbi Chiba Yosef or Rabbi Chiba Rabba? No, Rabbi Chiba Yosef says at Toen Taanas Ganiv ain't chayav shishlach bayad. Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Chiba Yosef says you're only chayav because of the kotzer. You're only chayav kefil by Toen Taanas Ganiv if before your shvuah was preceded by a shlichus yad, and the Rebbe said there you would not be chayiv. You're only chayiv for Toen Taanas Ganiv if you did not make shlichus yad. Okay, itmanami. We have another machlokes that illustrates this. Amar Bava and Amar Beloy, Amar Yochanan, Toen Taanas Aveda b'pikadon v'nishpa v'chazer v'Toon Taanas Geneva v'nishpa upo Edim Potter Hoyel v'Yosy they bailam b'shvur rishayna. This clarifies Rabbi Yochanan's position with clarity. So, although Rabbi Chiba Abba didn't hear anything yet to Medayik, we have a bryce or we have a memra that makes it very, very clear. Amar Rav Sheshes said, "Toen Taanas Ganiv because again we're wrestling this to the ground." I don't know that I don't think I skipped the line. I think I said that. Yeah. Amar Rav Sheshes said, "Toen Taanas Ganiv because." Again, our case that we're going over and over again, analyzing all the different nuances, different rules of information about it. Toen Taanas Ganiv because Kivan sheshalach bayad potter my taima hachi kamer rachmana v'nikra balabais Elohim im loy shalach yad potter. So another raya from a different twist that shows the halacha of Rabbi Yochanan that once you made shlichas yad, there will no longer be a chiyuv kefil for Toen Taanas Ganiv, which would be a raya against Rabbi Chiba Yosef. Amalei Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman had a very interesting question. He didn't dash this, right? We had actually the beginning of the sugya. The Gemara shows how Rabbi Chiba Yosef dashed us. In lo shalach yadai, meaning if he wasn't shalach yad, he won't be chayiv. He's only chayiv if he was shalach yad. That's how he dashed the pasuk earlier. Amalei Rav Nachman. We have a problem. Anytime a Ganiv is Toen Taanas Ganiv, we make him actually swear 3 shvuas to cover any hole that might be mechayev him. And they are as follows. Shvuah shaloi peshati. He has this word, didn't make a pshia. Because if he was pesheya, even if it was stolen, he's chayiv al shomer. He's not a Ganiv, but you still have to pay your liability as a shomer. And he also has to swear shvuah shaloi shalachti bayad. Because if he was shalach yad, he's chayiv anyway, but it might also pater him from kefil. And shvuah she'eni b'rshusi, he also has to make a shvuah she'eni b'rshusi. I don't have it in my position. My love, let's say that the shvuah shalach b'yad should be similar in what we're trying to make sure it didn't happen to dumya the shvuah she'eni b'rshusi. Ma shvuah she'eni b'rshusi. He swore shvuah she'eni b'rshusi. What if he lied and it really wasn't his rishus? Ki megalia milsa d'isha b'shusei chayiv. He will be chayiv, right? Be chayiv kefil. Av shvuah shelo shalachti b'yad. So too, when he made the shvuah shelo shalachti b'yad, it must be that ki migla milsa the shalach b'yad. If it turns out that he was shalach yad, chayiv would also be chayiv kefil, because it should have a similar result if he's lying to the other shvuah that he's making. Amalei. So he answered back. So who was Rav Nachman talking to? Amalei Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman was talking to Rav Sheshes. So Rav Sheshes told him back, no, you're not doing it. You're not comparing it properly. Compare it to the next one. It should be compared to the loy pashaita. Ma shvuah shaloy pashaita ba. Ki milgla milsa the pasha. If it turned out he was pasheya, part of me kefil, he'll pay the keren, but it'll be part of him kefil. Af shvuah shaloy shalach b'yad. he migdal milsa the shalach bayadav. It turns out that he was part of Mikevel, which is consistent with Rabbi Yochanan. Beautiful. Now we have one more interesting shayla. Boy Rami Barchel. We know the halacha is if someone is Toen Taanas Ganiv, and then Adam come and say that he was a lawyer, he's moichif to pay Karen and Kefir. What if after that he is moida that he's four false? So the Gemara told us earlier that he has to add now an osham because of the Torah says Hashem say this, but he doesn't have to add a chaimish. The Gemara says, and the question is why doesn't he have to add a chaimish? The Gemara's lashon is because he was already yoytze with his kefil. The payment of kefil to the Bailam had a chaimish in it, of course. It's more than a chaimish. But the Gemara is now drilling down into the nuances. What specifically about the fact that he had to pay kefil is what's pattering him from the chaimish. Is it mammon hamachai by kefil pattering the chaimish? Is it because since he's paying kefil anyway, that's why he's pattering the chaimish? Is that the reason? Oidilma shavua hamachayaf by kefil patrusting the chaimish. The shvua that he made that was mechayiv and kefil, he can't be mechayiv him two things. The shvua was mechayiv kefil. That same shvua will not be mechayiv him with chaimish. What would be the nafkamina if there were two shvuos? Hey chidami, where's your nafkamina? Going the same schizophrenic that we've been talking about until now. Going to Toen Taanas Ganiv. He first was Toen Taanas Ganiv, v'nishban he swore, and then the chazar v'Teen Taanas Ovid, and then he turned out v'nishban. So now he has two shvuos over here. Yeah. So Zok the Gemara. Ubo Adam, let me finish. Ubo Adam akameis. Adam came and told us that the first shvua that he made, he was lying. So they were mechayiv him, skefel. And then the haida basrais. And then he was moida, I was lying when I said over. So mammon hamechayav to kefel, part of the is it the fact that he's paying kefel that says now he's part of him paying a chaimish? And he is paying kefel here. He's paying kefel because of the first shvua that Adam contradicted him on. Maybe what's stopping him from paying the chaimish is shvua mechayav to kefel, by trusting in the chaimish. If he made a shvua that it was nignav, and because of that he's chayiv kefil, that shvua cannot be mechayiv with chaimish. But here he had another shvua. Shvua basraisa. Here he made another shvua. Hoil the like of mechayiv lekfela. That's not being mechayiv with kefil. Maybe to chayiv chumsha. Maybe that should trigger a chiyuv for the chaimish. So we'll stop here, and Be'ez Hashem will be mamshach tomorrow. A beautiful, beautiful Gemara. Tomorrow we're going to take it all. Kach. Tomorrow's Davos Kufches. We're going to take it all. The yikholi truma. We're going to grab it all.
Sounds like a tease. Good.
Shkoyach, a good tavach.
Shkoyach.